In today's episode, we are talking about laser engraving for beginners. If you are unsure where to start or what to do, this episode is for you. Hey, welcome to the Creative Ramblings podcast. I'm Sarah. I am so glad you're here. Today we're talking with Nicki. She is a very creative laser crafter and shop owner at Noodle Art. We are having a conversation today about taking those first big steps with your laser. Some beginner project ideas, some designing tips. We're going to motivate you to get started and keep going with your laser. Before I dive into my conversation with Nicki, I want to highlight some deals and news of the week. If you want to skip this part, hit that next chapter button and you'll go right to my interview. So, a couple things I want to touch on this week. It is the 19th of February, and we've got some new products coming out, which is kind of fun. So, We Create, which makes a couple of lasers that I own, both the Vista and the Vision, they just launched a mini fume extractor. So, they already have a large one that I own that they have on their website that helps pull the smoke and filter it out of your machine. So this mini it can sit like right on my workbench next to my Vista, and it does not need to be vented outside. So it's going to pull all that smoke from the machine, clean the air, and then spit the air back out into your room. I have found this works really, really well. And I am in a very cold state. So when it is well below zero and I don't want to open my window, I have been using this mini extractor. So if you're looking for one of those, you can pick up this mini for about $2.99 right now. I'm going to link it down in the description if that might fit your needs. Moving over to Cricut, they have a Make It Yours sales event that goes through the 22nd of February. And from what I've seen, this is great deals on just about everything. So, machines, heat presses, cutting machines, materials, tools, all that stuff. The best deals that I've found are on bundles. Bundles are always the best way to go because you get the machine and the materials and the tools all together. Right now, you can get the Joy Extra Everything bundle for $135, which is a fantastic price. If you're looking at getting into Cricut, this is a great way to go. I'm going to have that link down in the description for you. There is a brand new smart cutting machine on the market. It is not a Cricut. It's by a company called Cut, and I reviewed this yesterday on the channel here, so you can take a look at it. It is a mini smart cutting machine with a lot of really cool features, and I think their software is pretty robust for a new company, which is always good. I've created a lot of projects with it. And right now, you can pick that up for $79, which is a phenomenal price for getting into a smart cutting machine. There is a link and a discount code down in the description, and I'll link that video down there if you want to learn more. Let's get into today's interview. I am talking with Nicki. She is the creative force behind Noodle Art. She is an avid crafter and has been working with lasers for a few years. She's self-taught and incredibly knowledgeable. Hi, Nicki. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here. So, Nicki, you and I just kind of recently connected. This is actually our first time talking, but we have connected through some Xtool Facebook groups. And if you've ever been a member of these groups, there are thousands of people in them asking all kinds of questions and looking for advice and inspiration. And Nicki, as one of the moderators, I really appreciate the positive energy and just support you bring to that group. And you make people feel welcome. You answer our questions, and you share a lot of really cool stuff. So I've been seeing your stuff for a while, but it's really great to talk to you now here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, good, good, good. So tell us a little bit about your kind of, I guess about you, but about your crafting business, about your journey, kind of what you do.
My journey started about 10 years ago. I was working at a greenhouse managing about 3 million in sales actually.
Wow.
So I really enjoyed dealing with my garden centers and creating programs. Unfortunately, I was in a car accident 10 years ago, about 2 days ago, it was 10 years.
Wow.
and unfortunately ended up with a severe concussion that nobody diagnosed for almost a year.
Oh.
So by that point, most things were permanent. So my journey sort of has become a journey of healing, and through that, crafting came out. I started my journey with paper crafting, making greeting cards, and then it moved into resin art and shifted to candle making and body products and jewelry. So I have had a big journey of different items that I have sort of crafted and created over the years.
Mhm.
I found laser cutting about 2 years ago, and that journey has opened up a whole new pocket for me.
That is awesome. Yeah, lasers are kind of newer on the market in the last couple years, and a lot of people that are using them came from all different backgrounds. So I used to be a paper crafter too, just the hand die cut machine.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Yeah.
I love that machine. But it was almost this natural progression to lasers because you can do so much without the intense kind of physical labor of hand cutting or die cutting items.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your experience with lasers. Like what do you have and kind of what are you making with them?
So I actually started my journey with lasers with the X Tools original M1. And then I upgraded to the P2 in September, and then the Ultra in October. Um,
So going between like the M series, which are diode lasers, and the P series, which are CO2, you have a lot of capabilities there. So what materials do you find that you really like to work with between those two?
So I find that with the diode, you are kind of limited on acrylics,
Hmm.
unfortunately. It's just the blue light doesn't work well with clear or mirror, glitter, blues. So I do a lot of my cutting of acrylic actually on my P2. I've been sort of diving into a lot of creations lately with acrylic.
Hmm.
I spent most of my time making little night lights lately.
Oh, it's so cute.
So I have been playing around with a lot of different types of acrylic.
Oh.
I find that for myself, I tend to do a lot of wood, and that's what I typically use my M series for.
Hmm. I think wood is a natural starter material for most of us because it's inexpensive, it's accessible, and you can try so many different things. Where getting into acrylic is like, well, I got to buy the acrylic before I start testing it.
Yeah, and I mean, wood is a lot cheaper to start
Hmm.
with.
Hmm.
It's a lot easier to start with. It's not a difficult product to work with. Um, your chance of issues is a lot less when you're
Hmm.
working with wood. But I do have to say, when it comes to wood, I am a little bit picky, particularly because a lot of people want to try and purchase cheaper materials to start
Hmm.
just to practice on.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, when you work with cheaper materials, you're going to get a cheaper result.
Yeah. Yeah.
You will end up finding that the wood that's cheap has a lot of glue pockets, it's got voids. Your laser is not going to cut through it properly.
Hmm.
You're going to have a lot of catch up. And so I spent my first 6 months with my first original machine just fighting it. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I finally tried the X Tools branded birch plywood, and it
Hmm.
was like night and day.
Yeah.
It's completely dead flat. It doesn't have any warping. The glue pockets are minimal,
Hmm.
and there's no voids in it. So
Yeah.
your final result is going to be a lot nicer, and the quality. I do a lot of Christmas ornaments, and so I find that I want to
Uh-huh.
have the quality that's going to last and be there. And it's going to, when you're working with little pieces, they tend to break if you try to push them out of the wood.
Hmm. No, those are all great tips because back to getting my first laser, mine was an M1 as well. It was just basswood. That's all I was working with because I'm like, I don't want to spend all this money. But when I upgraded to like a maple or a birch or something a little bit nicer, man, that quality is just night and day, like you said. And then when you're selling those items, I think the customer is looking for quality. If they wanted something cheap, they'd buy it on Amazon. Like they don't,
Yeah.
they want, when we make something to sell it, they want it to be good quality that's going to last and it's going to look great.
Yeah, and that's what I always aim for too when I'm making my physical products. It's super important to me that that product is going to withstand a little bit of abuse and some time. And like Christmas ornaments, they last for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah,
So
they do.
I want to make something that holds up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So you showed us those night lights there, and those are in your Etsy shop too. I think they're adorable. And what I like is that not only do you make them and sell the physical products, but you designed that, right? Like the little fire truck there, like you
I
designed
did.
that.
I did.
So how did you get started that? Because I will say I am not a designer. I pretend sometimes. But how can somebody get started kind of creating their own designs?
So for me, I have gone through a lot of issues in regards to my brain injury, and I've worked really hard with my health and getting it to a place where my brain can actually function. And I found that suddenly designing just sort of became second nature for me.
Hmm.
I was able to look at things and see that they're all broken down into simple objects.
Hmm.
So if you can look at, for example, a pencil has a triangle, a rectangle, a bunch of little triangles where the pencil head sits. And so you just have to, if you can't sort of draw something, try to break it down into more manageable pieces. Do one piece at a time and kind of build it off of that.
That's really smart because I think looking at something can be a little overwhelming, but then to break it down is a really good idea. So, and I often find, at least for me, if I go to maybe a Creative Fabrica or an Etsy and I'm looking for a design and I'm just not quite seeing what I want, and I think, oh, I could kind of make my own. How would someone start with that? Like what software would they need? Or is there something, a place to start and then something you could work up to?
I actually do all of my designing, and this is going to floor people, but I do it all in XCS, in Xtool Creative Space.
Awesome.
I don't do anything outside of Creative Space. I find that I have found ways around some of the maybe issues in order to get it to function correctly.
Hmm.
But it's just starting with the basic shapes that are sort of built into the program and then building off of those.
That is awesome because I actually think XCS, that's the X Tool software, and we both use X Tool lasers, is really robust. And the fact that they just keep updating it, you can do so much in there. And the example you said about a pencil, like they offer triangles and rectangles and circles. And so if you know how to put it together, like you said, like that's awesome.
Yeah,
I,
and using offsets and those type of things as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm. Yeah, that is so cool. And it's free, which is really
Yeah.
nice versus, Illustrator or Photoshop or Procreate or, whatever other people are designing with. Starting in XCS is so good. Can you get your designs out of there and use them elsewhere?
Yeah, actually, on the computer, it has to be done on the desktop version. You can right click on any part of your design and click export as SVG. And so I always offer all my designs in XCS with all the settings already pre-programmed in them, or
Mhm.
I offer them as an SVG in
That is
case,
awesome.
yeah, somebody's more comfortable with one or the other.
Sure. And if they didn't have an X tool and they
Yeah.
had a different type of laser, they can purchase your SVG and then move on with it. Or, if I wanted to create an SVG in XCS, I could actually download it and go use it with my Cricut or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. That is really cool. I didn't expect you to say that. I love it. Um, what what advice would you give someone who, so let me step back for a second. You and I are part of these laser groups, and you see a lot of new people come in, and they're like, I just got my laser. I'm so overwhelmed, or it's not out of the box yet. I don't know where to start. What advice would you give somebody who is in that position?
So start with the basics, get the machine set up, and then download the software, play with the software, put in some text, try to engrave it. I would start with some wood. It's the easiest material to start with.
Hmm.
Do a basic project, cut a heart, do something simple. Don't dive into tumblers or trying to go right to acrylic.
Hmm.
Do something simple so that you get the feel of the machine. Listen to the machine and the sounds that it makes. I know with my P2, I can tell when it goes from engraving to cutting just by the sound that the machine actually physically makes.
Hmm.
Um, I do offer one-on-one coaching on the side as well
Oh,
as
cool.
something that I do. Just to help out, I offer a certain amount of time for free, and then it's sort of costs after that. But I like to encourage people that if they do need help, try to utilize some of the people out there that are willing to offer the help.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really great advice. Just starting with something super simple. And once you start making those projects, it's like, oh, I can do this. Maybe I'll now engrave and cut something. Um, yeah, that's so great.
Yeah, I find with my one-on-one coaching clients that I'll give them a starter project. So
Hmm.
I'll give them one of my design files, and then we go through. This is what most users will do is they'll make one layer a certain color for cut, one layer a certain color for score, and one for engrave. And so I just sort of teach them the basics of those types of things to begin with. And we start with a file that's super basic, but it gives them the ability to learn how to weld or,
Hmm.
do a couple of little features that might not overwhelm.
Yeah, that's great. Getting to know all those features and just getting to know the software, whether it's XCS or if you are using another laser. A lot of lasers that don't have their own software use Lightburn,
Hmm.
which is another beast to learn by itself. But once you understand the capabilities, it opens up your projects so much.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that you offer coaching. That is really cool. And I would definitely, I think my advice to a new laser user is go to those Facebook groups. And if you need more, kind of look for people offering, like you, or look for people who are offering their assistance and their coaching. Because even just an hour of that could jumpstart you to the next level.
Yeah, I find that most people only really need an hour to just get over that initial first cut because there's a
Yes.
fear that comes. We don't want to burn down our house.
Hmm. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I have a fire blanket, I have a fire extinguisher.
Hmm.
I also have the fire safety unit on my machines.
Yep.
But I think that that initial first project with somebody, it just sort of gives them a bit of hand holding to just know that it's okay. It's going to be smoky. It's supposed to, have a bit of fire. It's
Yep.
normal.
It's a laser.
It's a laser, right? And so I think a lot of people, as soon as they see a little bit of flashback, because sometimes that
Hmm.
happens if you don't keep your stuff clean,
Hmm.
that they immediately think their project is on fire, where it's just a little bit of extra flame that pops back up and dissipates. So
Yep. But that goes
it's
back to what you were saying earlier is get to know your machine, understand what it looks and sounds like. And so you know the difference between totally normal flashback and there's a fire.
yes, like cutting mirror acrylic is its own fear because the amount of sparks that you see that come off of mirror acrylic is a little crazy, but it's normal. It's
Yep.
nothing to worry about.
But if you don't know that going in, it looks very scary.
It's very intimidating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Nikki, tell me a little bit about your shop. So I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Noodle Art is the name of your brand, and you have both an Etsy shop and a website. So what can we find if we go to your shop?
You'll find a large array of different offerings. From digital products, I have everything from Christmas ornaments to Valentine's Day projects. There's night lights up. I have a whole bunch of teacher appreciation and Easter stuff coming. And then the physical products that I make are also listed there. I'm currently working on the side to do a couple of different tutorials on how to make certain products that are a little bit more in depth
Oh,
as
very cool.
well. I offer these maps that are done with acrylic, and they just are absolutely beautiful, completely done up. Um, but in order to get the process of the maps to download them, I've created a tutorial that I'm going to be posting up on my channel actually in the coming weeks. So,
Oh, fantastic. So not
yeah.
only do you have a shop where, which I think is really inspiring if you are a laser user and you're wondering, how can I make a business out of this? Like you just told us your story, and it sounds like something that other people can do with their own designs. They can get used to XCS, they can start making SVGs, and maybe they can start selling those. So not only do you have a shop, but you have an Instagram page and a YouTube channel. So we can look for you for tutorials in the future on how to do some of the amazing things you do.
Yes, yes. I actually I've got 3 videos that are coming out, and then after that, my first studio video of the new year will be on my night lights. So I'm excited to do that one.
Wonderful. That is it. And I'm going to link that down below because I think that's that in addition to the Facebook groups or one-on-one coaching, YouTube, where we are right now, is such a great way to learn. Watch other people do it, ask them questions in the comments, and you're going to feel this like encouragement to go do it on your own.
Yeah, and I think that is ultimately my goal. Out of all of this, I just want people to love their lasers and enjoy them and see the full capabilities of these machines.
Same. Like that is why I do what I do too. Like I love my laser and I love all the cool new like niche things it can do, and I want other people to go use their laser and get that much joy out of it as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it breaks my heart when I hear people mention that their laser has been sitting in a box for a year. I had
Mhm.
a coaching client recently and she said, "This machine's been sitting in the box for a year." And I said,
Oh,
"Let's get it running." And she got her first project done and she was ecstatic.
good. That is how it should be.
And that just makes it makes my heart happy.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, same here. So, Nikki, I've loved talking with you today. I'm so happy that we connected. And thank you for sharing your story because I think it's really inspiring and really encouraging to those people who are listening that your laser can be just a hobby, but it can be more than that if you want to.
Yeah.
So, I am going to share everything about you down in the description. And if you are an Xtool user and you're not already part of one of these Facebook groups, go join them because they're great and they're going to answer your questions. And people like Nikki will come in and be like, it's okay, I'm going to help you. And they're wonderful places to be. So, Nikki, thank you so much for being here.